This month I participated in the 2022 Brackeys Game Jam, which means that I, along with thousands of other indie developers, had to make a game completely from scratch in only 7 days based on the theme It Is Not Real. This is not the first game jam I participate in, and if there's one thing I learned about these type of events is that time is your biggest enemy. If you want to make a good game, then wasting time is not allowed, because it is a limited resource and you should make every second count. For this reason, on day 1 of the jam, I did nothing. I did absolutely nothing. I spent the entire day binge watching videos of Indian guys building stuff, and I am very proud of it. Well, you might be thinking that in game jams you are supposed to stress yourself to death and work insanely long hours, but in reality I don't think that's the point of game jams. So yeah, day 1, nothing. On day 2, however, I also did nothing. That's the end of the video. Thanks for watching, make sure to subscribe. I'm kidding. On day 2 I started to come up with game ideas based on the theme It Is Not Real. After some thinking, I decided to follow a very experimental and weird concept that I had. Basically, I wanted to make a game set in a surreal black and white world where nothing ever happens. A game that goes against all the basic principles of game design, level progression, level design, reward psychology, stuff like that. I was very inspired by a play called Waiting for Godot, which is about 2 guys who live in a sort of unreal world and do nothing for the entire duration of the play, except talking to each other about nonsense while waiting for a mysterious character named Godot to show up.
Nothing to be done.
What I wanted to do was making a game with a similar plot, but instead of Godot, in my game the characters would have to wait for the game to start. After spending another evening watching my Indian friends making pools, on day 3 I started working on the game's core mechanics, movement and dialogue. I quickly drew up these 2 stickmen in Photoshop and I made a simple 2D platforming controller that lets the player jump and move left and right. Nothing fancy, but it gets the job done. The dialogue was a bit more tricky. I wanted to create a dialogue system like the one that's used in the game Night in the Woods, which by the way is an amazing game and you should play it, no pressure, which is a dialogue system that has these sort of bubbles that spawn on top of the characters every time they speak. This system also features choices and has a very cool typewriter effect. Since I had never done something like this before, it was a bit tricky to implement, but I am really satisfied with how it turned out in the end. The system I made also allows me to call certain actions every time the dialogue reaches a certain point, which was really fun to work with, especially for scenes like this one. After the dialogue system was complete, I had the foundation I needed to start working on the actual game. On day 4, was it day 4? Was it day 5? On day 5, no it was... Okay, I can't count, but stay with me. I wrote some dialogue sequences, threw them into Unity, and just like that, boom! Now the stickman can talk. Now, let's talk about game progression. The way the game progresses is a bit odd. There is no tutorial, so the player has to figure out the buttons that he has to press on his own, and there is absolutely nothing in the room, except for this stickman guy who the player can talk to. Now you might be thinking, well, that's not very fun, and you would be right, this is indeed not very fun. But as the player keeps talking to the stickman, some interesting things will happen. For example, at a certain point a coin will spawn on the side of the map, and if the player walks towards it, he can grab it. Now here's a question for you. What do you think this coin does? Can it be used to buy a hat for our stickman? Or maybe the player can give it to the other stickman and something will happen? You thought about it? You got an answer? Okay, you're wrong. The coin does nothing. It does absolutely nothing and it cannot be used in any way throughout the game. When the player talks to the stickman after he gets the coin, this happens. There are other sequences like this one in the game where random stuff happens and where the player can interact with the environment, but in the end the player never gets rewarded for what he does, and he always finds himself talking to the stickman, who keeps on suggesting to stand still and doing nothing and just waiting for the game to start. At a certain moment, if you choose a certain route, Is it root? I don't know. You can't even get into an argument with the stickman, but I'm not gonna spoil that to you in case you wanna check out the game by yourself. When I started to write the dialogue sequences for the game, I wanted them to be funny and ironic, and they are by some extent, but I think that during the development of the game, something unique happened. I think I was inadvertently influenced by all the horrible stuff that's currently going on here in Europe, because for some reason I ended up rewriting the dialogue multiple times, and by the time I was finished, they had become pretty dark and depressing. The plot of the game ended up becoming less about the quirkiness and the irony of the game itself, and more about the tragic condition of a stickman who is stuck in a horrible condition and doesn't have the power to do anything to change it. There's even a sequence where the stickman calls out God and starts begging for help to make the game start. And as a person who is not even religious, it was weird to see how I was writing those things, because subconsciously I kept thinking about innocent civilians in Ukraine who at the moment of this recording are suffering the damages of a war that they really don't have any control over. I truly didn't expect such a change in the tone and in the atmosphere of the game. I wanted to keep things light, but I guess I just couldn't bring myself to do that at a time like this, not even if I wanted to. That said, I don't know how to end the video after such a heavy topic, so I'll just say the usual stuff, but no screaming this time. Okay, subscribe to the channel, means a lot, will be greatly appreciated. You can play the game with the link in the description. You can also leave it a rating if you'd like to. Subscribe to the channel, I'll say it once again. Okay, I guess that's all. Hope you liked the video, thanks for watching, bye bye.